Good luck.
Okay, it's time to go actually. So, hello everybody and welcome to our webinar. I am Sharka and I will be your host today. So, if you are expanding customer support globally, then you joined the right webinar. Today, I will be talking to two experienced leaders that they have successfully taken their customer support globally. So they have a lot of experience and expertise to share with you. So they will help you to overcome challenges in your processes. So benefits of global support are pretty much clear, but the process of setting up operations are very complex. So for that, I invited these two speakers today. So first, I would like to introduce you Frederico Lopes. He is head of customer service at Discover Cars. Discover Cars is a car rental comparison website. Frederico was joining the company when customer service team was only consisting of 2 people, and now he is managing a team of 55 people. So he has a lot of valuable expertise to share with you today. So it's delighted to have you here today, Frederico. Welcome to the webinar.
Yeah, thank you to Cloud Talk for the opportunity. Welcome everybody to this webinar. I hope that it will be valuable for you and that in the end of the meeting, you will have at least a few takeaways to improve your customer support.
Thank you so much, Frederico. So, and let me introduce our very own Erika Babat from CloudTalk. She is head of support at CloudTalk. She has similar successful story as Frederico. She was joining CloudTalk when customer support team consisted of 2 people, and then she successfully scaled it to 28 people. So welcome, Erika. As usually, I'm delighted to have you on the webinars. It's not the first time, right?
Yeah, thank you, Sharka. Thanks a lot, and happy to see everybody who came for today's webinar. And hopefully, we'll have some very good time discussion. Whatever you are excited to ask, just feel free to comment during the meeting, and then we can discuss about some of your questions as well.
Thank you so much. So before finally, I will hand the mic to our speakers. I would mention 2 organizational things. So first of all, this webinar will be recorded, so you will receive recording afterwards as well. And second, if you have any questions, and please, I would like to encourage you to have a questions, please submit them into Q&A section that you can see on the bottom of the Zoom, and we will answer all your questions in the end of this webinar. So let's get started. What do you think? So as I said, building a customer support for customers around the globe is a complex process. So how do you build it? Where do you even start? So we will today focus on how to build and how to manage customer support around the globe so you can live up to expectations of your customers. So I will start with Erika. I have a first question for you. So I would like to ask you, can you share with us the CloudTalk experience? How did you scale the team to different time zones?
Sure. So that's a very good question for the beginning to ask actually how to start. And when you start to provide support, especially globally, and you are doing in more than a couple of countries, you usually really have that feeling that you just want to scale in the beginning and have every possible language in every country where you're providing support. Same, including the time zones and having really support 24/7. As of today, we have a support 24/7, but it was really step-by-step process. So in the beginning, I would like to tell you about when is the right time for scaling. And by telling our CloudTalk story, it will actually answer the question. So when we started the support, when I started here, it was 3 years ago, we were just 2 people. As soon as we started, both of us same time, and when we were onboarded, we started to cover already 2 shifts. I was covering morning shift, and then my colleague was covering afternoon shift for American business. And we were going with this for actually a couple of months, eventually, I think about a year, when we decided that we need to add one more shift to cover also night shift to be at least 24/5. And then after some time, we decided to go 24/7. So it was a very, I would say, kind of a slow process, which really took until 24/7 about 2.5 years. And it always required a lot of things to think about, not only about the number of employees, but as well about if we can offer the languages which our customer need. It's always very important to actually follow the customer need and go with what a customer is asking. We started here as a very small company in Slovakia, and many years ago we were just providing service in Slovakia and Czech Republic, which is a very small business. And after time, approximately in the time when I joined the company, a company started to provide business and support globally. And since we are doing B2B, we communicate mostly in English, and it's pretty standard on the market. Therefore, we were not really thinking about growing with the languages, but mainly covering the time and the shifts. So as of today, we have basically 2 languages we are providing. We have a couple of more, but not officially, because we have a lot of international people. They are speaking their own language. So from time to time, if they have somebody speaking their language, of course they do, but officially we don't. And that was our story. That's how we actually decided. For us, it's more important to cover the time than the languages, because mainly of the business what we do. When switching to 24/7, that was actually as well something what we consider that if it is the right time to do, because we noticed that we are not having a lot of questions being asked on the weekend. We don't have a lot of emails, we don't have a lot of chats. Of course, the Monday morning was a little bit busier because of all the questions asked during the weekend, but it was not like really a huge amount. However, we get to the point when we actually notice that it's a standard among our competitors. That's why we decided to do this step. But it was a very slow and consistent process. So if you are a company with a support of 5 people, maybe you don't need 24/7 immediately. Maybe you can start slowly with 1 or 2 shifts, 3 shifts, and then maybe going further. And very important thing is as well to know when is the right time to stop. So as I mentioned, we were 2 people starting. Now we are 28 people. If I would look maybe half year ago, we were approximately the same number, and we are not expecting to actually increase a number of support people that much. When you get to some point, it's better actually to be more consistent with what you already scaled. What I believe that CloudTalk is, from a support perspective, scaled, and you should focus more on efficiency and effective processes to actually make more work with amount of people what you have. And that's also something what we are going to be talking about, how to make sure that your agents are working efficiently and consistent.
Thank you very much, Erika, for your input. So likewise, Federico, I have actually the same question for you. So how did you scale customer support to different time zones? And can you share a story of Discover Cars with us?
Absolutely. Maybe before starting to talk about scaling customer support, here I have a short slide about the Discover Cars timeline. So it was a company founded in 2013, and this year we completed already 9 years. So we'll not be talking about this slide. We'll move already to the following slide. Only thing that is important to mention that this year we have reached already 60,000 reviews with a score of 4.5 out of 5 on Trustpilot. So Discover Cars cares a lot about customers and tries to bring a great experience for everyone renting a car. talking about scaling, which is the main topic of today. Well, my first notice is that there is a big difference between CloudTalk and Discover Cars. So while CloudTalk focus mainly on B2B, Discover Cars works mostly with the B2C. So when we talk about scaling customer support, my first advice would be a multilingual support 24/7. Nowadays, customers expect to get an answer fast, especially if they are approaching us via phone. If we don't answer them fast, then it may result into a cancellation of the reservation, it may result into a claim, or it may result into a bad review. In Discover Cars, we have been working for 24/7 already for 5 years. And this was one of the consequences of expanding to American market and to work with meta searches such as Kayak, Skyscanner. As customers originating from those platforms, they were expecting confirmation for their reservation immediately. At the time, we did not have that many automations to guarantee that process would happen smoothly. So hiring additional people to cover the night shift was the only way to go. Of course, at the very start, it was a one-man job. It was very difficult. And in addition to that, there was no opportunity to work from home at the time since we did not have the proper environment in the company. So it was very hard. Back in 2015, when I started, we were working from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Then in 2016, we expanded till midnight. And then in 2017, as I already said, to 24/7. Expanding customer service can be quite hard because if you have already some employees used to work on some shifts, it's very hard to convince them to moving to another shift, like let's start the evening shift and then the night shift. We were usually hiring additional people for that. And we managed to hire more and more. And right now we have 6-7 people in average a month sharing the night shift. My second advice would be to prefer native speakers, especially as a B2C, as I already mentioned, we need to speak a lot of different languages because our customers are distributed worldwide. Currently in the team, we have 26 different countries represented, speaking 16 different languages. We give preference to people speaking Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and also German, since a big part of our business takes place in those countries. And additionally, our users are also from those countries, especially the coast of Mediterranean is very popular for tourism and for renting a car, since usually people are not only doing a city traveling, but they are going around. So looking at last 3 months figures, just to give you an idea, 15% of our phone calls were to our Italian line, or 11% to our French line. So if we have a business in that country, we are also trying to provide the customer with a local phone number so they can approach us easily. The same if we notice that the volume of calls or emails in a certain country starts to be significant, we also try to hire a speaker in that language. So we believe that speaking customer language not only creates a competitive advantage from our competitors, but also helps gaining customer trust. It helps us solving their issues much faster since there is no language barrier. My third advice would be one step at a time. When changing something, it may create insecurity for employees, and this could affect their trust in the company, could affect their long-term relationship. So one of the consequences of scaling can be that the information within the team is not very transparent, or that some processes are not aligned for all the employees. So to make sure that we have everyone on the same page, we try to have live meetings explaining where we stand, what new features have been launched, and only then we move to the next challenges. Then keep an eye to your metrics. It is important to look, for example, at the first response time if you are working with emails, at the average answer time if you are working with phone calls. Additionally, some periods of the day may be more active than the others, so you need to have more people where you feel the need. In our case, we noticed that from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central European time, we have more volumes and more people trying to contact us. Therefore, we try to have more resources there. And it is the same during the weekend. So we may have less people during the weekend trying to contact us. So we also have less people. The last one is understand the markets where you work. If you are working successfully in one market, let's say you are doing it successfully in Europe, it doesn't mean you will be doing it successfully in America, since the business might be conducted differently there. We entered in the American market back in 2017, and then we realized that there were different insurance specifics that had nothing to do with what we were used in the European market. So at the start, it was a complete failure, and we got a lot of negative reviews. It took us a little bit of time to understand the market and to be successful. Right now, the same is happening with Latin America. So it is important that we are knowledgeable enough to grow and to scale in that market as well. The last and not less important is to set clear OKRs. At a certain point, when you start to get a considerably big team, you will get a lot of ideas. And you will realize first that it's impossible to do everything. Second, that some things will not bring the result that you are expecting. So setting objectives and key results will help to turn good ideas into great results. At the very start, the process of the OKRs can be quite complex. And right now we have done it already for 3 sessions. Well, we finally start to see the value. The employees start to feel connected with the key results, and they start to see the progress as well and why we are doing some things instead of others. We are doing these OKR sessions quarterly, and it helps us aligning with the company goals as well. So that will be all from my side. So in the right side of the screen, you can see some figures from our customer support. So yeah, we started with 2 people back in 2015. Right now, we have 55. We are now entering the low season or the European winter when we will have less volumes, but we are still trying to keep all the people. And for the next year, let's see what number we can reach. This year so far, we already grew like 50%. We were some 26, 27 in January.
Thank you, Federico. You mentioned a lot of valuable insights there. So I would like to elaborate on the topic further that you already mentioned, and that's a hiring. So my next question for you would be, what were the main challenges related to hiring on a global market, and how did you overcome them?
Okay. Well, some of the challenges, we still have them nowadays.
Of course.
Yes. First of all, Latvia is a very small market. So as some of you know, Discover Cars was created and based in Riga, Latvia. With 1.9 million inhabitants, Latvia is even smaller than some European cities. So it's not easy to find right people since the offer is limited, especially with interest towards the customer service area. To sum up, in Latvia, there is a very small percentage of foreigners. When I joined Latvia in 2014, most of the foreigners were just studying in Erasmus programs, and nowadays we can see more and more foreigners. So the situation is changing, but there are still few people speaking the languages we are looking for. And if there is someone speaking those languages, there is a huge demand for them, especially like people speaking Italian or French, then a lot of companies will be trying to approach them. The traditional Latvian, he will speak 3 languages usually, so Latvian, English, and some of them still speak Russian. That's why we are usually trying to look for foreign employees. If we talk about the local ones, they usually have a 4th language, or sometimes a 5th language, or they will only be working with English customer support, which is usually happening, for example, in the night shift. Actually, it's a very interesting fact. When I joined the company in 2015, I was the first foreigner in Discover Cars, and all the meetings were held in Russian. And I had someone usually translating highlights for me, but yeah, I managed to overcome this barrier. And yeah, nowadays all the meetings are held in English, actually. Then the third challenge is to onboard employees remotely. Usually when we are hiring people, we bring them in groups and we try to have the training together. If people are joining remotely, first of all, it's hard to understand their struggles. It's hard to understand how high is their engagement, especially for young people. So to sum up, hiring in different countries is also a problem, especially because the local legislations. It's very, very difficult to hire someone outside Latvia. Nowadays, we have some employees working remotely, some 15% of the team. But those were people that started in Latvia, they gained some experience in Latvia, and then they moved back to their countries. So it's something that happens very often. The employee he goes on Erasmus to Latvia, then in parallel they find a job, they stay there for some time, and after a period of time they want to go home. So only in those cases we try to keep them and to continue working with them in a different agreement. Then the other challenge is long-term relations, especially because customer service is usually a short-term job or a first career job. So to make sure we build great specialists, we need to provide them with a great company environment, with a good salary, with opportunities to grow. We actually managed to do it quite successfully. And then on the right side of the screen, you have what is called the Workday Peak and Reports. So for the past 4 sessions, we were above 9.4, and this last we reached 9.5. So it's actually much higher than the standard in the industry, because we always try to give the best to employees since we want to keep them for the long term as well. And last challenge, non-standard working hours, because customer service is not a 9-to-5 job. People have to work weekends, people have to work holidays, people have to work evening, night shift. So when we look for an employee, we try to set terms in advance. So if we need someone for the evening shift, we tell them that their schedule will always be like that. If we need someone for the night shift, we tell them how it's going to be. It's not that easy to find very good people for those shifts. So usually we have much younger people working in the evening and night shift rather than the morning shift. As well, in the long term, people try to get a better schedule, to change to the morning shift. So we're actually not even hiring for the morning shift. Usually that opportunity is gained with the time and with results as well. I'm sure there are more. Yeah, well, just actually once we tried to hire people in the Italian market, we actually managed to do it, but we realized that the process of hiring someone abroad is so complex, and there are many specifics in each different country about the taxation, about cooperation and type of employment agreement. So yeah, we managed to hire 2 people. It was 2 years ago. We still have them. Yeah, but we decided we will not do it again. We'll try to continue to hire in Latvia and yeah, to have our people, if possible, based in Latvia. or partially working from home as well. And in long term, if they get skilled enough, obviously, to move remotely as well.
Thank you, Federico, for your perspective. So now, like once we have done hiring, so how do you make sure that customers around the globe, they will get the customer support that they need? Doesn't matter where they are. So that's gonna be a question again for you, Erica. How do you lead and manage teams across different time zones?
Yes, it is definitely not easy to lead a team which is actually working on the weekends, working the nights, working afternoon, and that at some point you actually start to ask yourself, like, if you don't want to be working 24/7, whether it wouldn't be better maybe to hire a leader for each of your shift. And this is a very good advice. You need a leader. If not somebody hired for the position to be a team leader or shift leader or supervisor, it's good to start at least with somebody accountable. For example, if you have a shift with at least 2 people, I assume that one of them will be maybe a little bit senior. So it's a good opportunity for them to give them some accountability, some responsibility, and then maybe they will feel that they are heading somewhere in support, because support teams are usually having a little bit higher attrition rate, and people tend to leave, as Federico was mentioning, usually is like the first step of the career, or it's the starting job somewhere in a company. I'm lucky to say that actually we have a pretty consistent team, and most of our team members are here for over a year, and hopefully not leaving. So back to leadership. Why you actually need to have a leader or to have somebody who would be accountable for other person or other people in your in that particular shift. It is because you want to have a consistent support. You want to have a same quality of support for your European customers, for your American customers, and for your Australian customers, for example. And if you are not going to have some process which is going to be led and controlled by some people, then everybody will just do as they wish, as they want. And usually it will be better during the morning shift, because I assume that you will be there and you will have a leader there at least. But then during the evening and the night, some things may be little bit harder, and not always only because of the fault of the customers, fault of the agents. Many times the mistake they do is because they don't have somebody to ask how they should proceed. And again, we'll be talking about a little bit later, but support people shouldn't be actually making a big decision about like how I should do this or how I should do this. The job should be pretty straightforward, and it should be clear enough for them. What was a big game changer for us was to define KPI and start to follow metrics, and then a quality assurance process. And for controlling this, usually our leaders or supervisors, or you might call them differently in your company, are accountable for. Again, mentioning it can be just your senior agent if you have a shift of 2 people, somebody who will actually feel that, okay, I'm responsible for like meeting this metric, for meeting this KPI. And here on the chart, you can see our customer satisfaction rate and how it improved by adding this to, I would say, small details, right? Just defining a KPI, so showing customers, showing agents like what is your goal, where we want to, what we want to reach, where we want to get, and then doing a quality assurance process, because quality is something, it's an aspect of support which is not quantifiable, therefore it's easily forgotten, right? Because you start to measure a first response time, a total resolution time, and one-touch tickets, and CSAT, of course, and sometimes these metrics are great, but still you have maybe some complaining customers, or you find out the chats which were not the best. So for this, a quality assurance process is important. Maybe speaking a little bit of the metrics and KPIs, what is kind of a common mistake what people do, that they define too many KPIs, that they are like, okay, whatever we can measure, let's start to measure it, right? Because the more the better. And especially if you're coming from like a nothing to everything, it's a huge shock, and it's hard for agents actually to follow every single goal and try to fulfill that. Try to always pick maybe 2 to 4 KPIs which you believe are important for customer facing roles, customer success or customer support team. I believe that the customer satisfaction rate is the most important. That's something what define us about like how happy the customers are. Many times you will hear it's NPS. That is also very, very important, but that's more a product satisfaction, and you want to see the satisfaction of your support team. How are you actually satisfied with the agent who communicates with you? Was it professional? Was it fast? Was it efficient? Was it kind? Was it on a professional level? So this is what you want to measure, and the customer satisfaction rate as definitely the right metric to show this one. So definitely we are not measuring this one. A big advice to start, and then the other metrics, what for example we follow, are some which actually have a huge impact on the customer satisfaction rate. For me, we follow some other things now because we've been using KPIs for a year already. But what is very important for me is a first response time, because happy customer is a customer who is not waiting. Nobody likes waiting. Seems that we people are not built for waiting, whether it's 5 minutes waiting for the bus or 5 minutes waiting on a call, especially if there is some robot talking to you and you cannot even be angry with somebody. And then at the point when you already get connected to agent, you're already angry. You don't care anymore like how kind the agent is going to be. Then agents have really, really hard work to actually make that angry customer a happy customer. So first response time on the chat, on the tickets, or even on answering calls, it's for me a very important metric to follow. And then as well, total resolution time, because again, happy customer is a customer who has a problem solved fast. So we are following, of course, different numbers on the chat, on the tickets, or whether we are doing calls. But it's also maybe giving agents kind of a push that, okay, if really like I'm on a chat with somebody and I can't make it in half an hour, and half an hour we are having really interactive communication, probably I can't really fix it. Probably it's really a technical problem. I need to open a ticket and let somebody more technical having a look on this. So this is pushing them to really like try to solve the things fast and be efficient during that time you have with the customer. And now let's talk a little bit about the quality assurance process. This is what we started a little bit later. Already when we started defining KPI in Q3 2021, you can see that a CSAT kind of like increased incredibly, almost 10% in 2 quarters. What it was great result. And then when we added in Q1 as well, quality assurance process, it kept increasing. Like I don't have a Q3 there because it's not finished yet, but we are again a little bit higher when compared to the last quarter. So this was again a big game changer for us. And what we started to do, we started manually. We just wanted to see if it's going to work, just randomly picking a couple of chats, or you can pick a couple of calls and listen to them. You can pick a couple of tickets. Very important thing, we started to do it on a weekly basis. That's if you are even thinking about starting quality assurance, I really recommend to do it on a weekly basis, because if you do something on a monthly basis, yeah, it's easier for you, and maybe even it's not annoying that much to your agents. But imagine that you really want to talk about the chat or email your agent had last month. So imagine the conversation starting like, hey, Susan, do you remember the chat you had 4 weeks ago with the customer this and this, and he was really angry? Most probably it's going to be like, nah, I don't really remember. That was like last month. A lot of things happened, and we have 100 chats every week. So that's something like too far to remember. On another hand, if you do it on a weekly basis and just have your shift leaders, or if you have a smaller team only by yourself, just checked randomly 4, 5 chats per week, and then have a really short, regular meetings with your agents. It can be 10 minutes calls. Really, it's not a lot. With every agent separately, and just go over the things that hey, you had a really great feedback about this one, and give them some kind of a praise that they are doing something great, and they feel like, yeah, I just want to continue. Somebody said I did a good job, because people like hearing they did a good job, right? And as well, if there was any problem, you can discuss it a couple of days after the problem happened, and maybe go over like what could be done differently, how maybe we can prevent the situation. So these are the 2 big advice from me, like start with KPIs if you haven't, and start with a quality assurance, because there is on a chart example how it can really boost your results and have a really great impact on the things you want to achieve. And the last advice is to stay in touch. As I mentioned, I have a team working 24/7, and I try at least from time to time join our afternoon stand-up, which is 7 p.m. Not terrible. I promise my night shift that I've also joined their stand-up, which is 3 a.m., but it's really difficult for me. But I will really try to at least, for example, have a 1 day in a month or 2 days in a month to join, because if we are working globally as a company, there is always going to be one shift which is going to be the smaller one, when there will be like no marketing, no sales, no okay, maybe sales will be there. They're usually everywhere, right? Covering as well as global as possible, but mostly it's going to be the quiet shift, and it's very hard for people, especially in SaaS and startup company, to feel that they are a part of this company. So invest that 1 day, even if it's a night, and try to stay in touch with them, or if possible, maybe have a one-on-one with them from time to time in the morning, maybe when your shifts are overlapping for 30 minutes, so they feel that they are involved, that they are part of the company and part of the team. So this is also something what is boosting their motivation, and it's also good for the company culture and the feeling in the team.
Thank you, Erika. I always enjoy listening to you when you are talking about KPIs and quality assurance process. And actually, I have one small question, sub question for you. So, like you mentioned that a lot of companies, they used a lot of KPIs. So in the beginning of process, setting up KPIs, how did you know which KPIs you are going after? Did you do some research in the beginning, or was it also, did you try like maybe other KPIs and then you quickly realized that, oh no, this is not going to work for the team? Or how did you choose the right KPIs?
Well, I don't remember if we ever followed something different and then we change it. I think we always follow this, what we are following right now. How did I decide? That's a good question. I think that I did the research definitely. As well, I had some good contacts from another companies which already scaled the team. As well, the webinars were a great source, right? So you don't need to repeat the mistakes of somebody else. So yeah, it was a combination of these 3, like talking to the more experienced people, doing a research on my own, and of course, yeah, trying. Like fortunately, our KPI is working good, but don't be afraid to make a decision. Like sometimes it's better to make a decision and just go with it, and if it's not working, you can just change it after a couple of weeks. Like if you are working on a a startup, like people are used for the changes, right? So you don't need to be worried that you will pick a wrong KPI. Like you can just wait 1 quarter. If it's not going to be good, then you can just change it or think about something else. Or if you're interested, you can just write me on LinkedIn, and you can ask for advice about the KPIs as well. I'm a big data freak, and I love follow like every possible numbers. So I had like 30 options what to follow, and I picked 4, which we are following right now.
Thank you so much. So now I move into another discussion, which is also huge for global customer strategy, and that's tools and automation. So how big is automation? How big part is automation at CloudTalk, Erika? How much do you use automation?
Well, I wish we would do more automation than we do. But of course, as every support team, we have to deal with a lot of manual work for now. I believe that one day will be like fully automated. And yeah, I would start this slide with a sentence, simpler, richer, automated, what is actually sentence from our company vision. That's what we try to do as a CloudTalk. We try to provide a product which is simple, it's efficient, and is not involving a lot of manual process. And I wish that we would have also this from a support perspective, working 100% on a support, but mainly it's in a SaaS and startup company is very hard to achieve because there will always, as I mentioned, like we started our quality assurance as we started in a Google Drive, just picking some chairs and having a table there and filling just a tick and a cross. Now it's been like 2 months, we have a software for that, but most of the process start like this. How you can start and what you can do without actually really having a lot of softwares, without maybe increasing a budget for automation. You can start with really small things which can do a big impact. As I mentioned, I think a previous slide or today earlier, you want your agent to do a job. You want them to just solve a problem or analyze the problem and create a ticket for a more experienced or more technical department. And you don't want them to be bothered by a small decision like, okay, I have this problem. Should I escalate it to this department or this department? As most of the support team, you probably, if I ask anybody here, like what is the 3 most common problems you are having reported, I believe everybody without thinking would tell me 3 or 5 the most common problems. And that's what most of the support is. Like it's very repetitive. That's why you can actually create some playbook for people. You can actually create a workflows for that majority of the questions which are coming and repeating. So you can start with a canned messages, or if we are using Zendesk, it's called macros there. So for example, people are complaining to us a lot about problem A and problem B. So usually troubleshooting is pretty similar, maybe with some differences. So you can have a canned message or a macro for this problem A and problem B, and whenever an agent see this question, they just click a canned message or a macro, and they don't need to type anything manually and repeat themselves over and over, or have it copied somewhere in the notes and then looking for it like, oh, where is the answer for this question? So these are the small things what can really help. Automated answers. That's what we are also using on a Zendesk. So we want to always proactively ping people if they are not answering to us. Let's say that they report a problem, but we need additional information from them. We write them email back that, hey, please, could you send us this and this and this information? Sometimes they don't reply. Sometimes they, for example, don't have that much big problem and they just don't want to bother themselves, and they are like, oh, I can live with that. But no, nobody wants to live with that. We want to have a good and working and stable product. So we like to ping them like, hey, like you didn't answer, as it's still appearing, the problem is still appearing, or do you need maybe help? Should we jump on a call or something like this to remind them? And when you have already thousands of the questions coming monthly, it's really not very efficient efficient process to do it manually and to actually check like who didn't respond. So Zendesk, for example, has and many other tools. I believe we are working with Zendesk. That's why I'm mentioning, has an automation that if a customer doesn't reply in 3 days and the ticket was not solved or a chat was not solved, for chat it wouldn't happen because it's very interactive, right? But mainly for emails. If they don't answer, just send them a message, send them a reminder. If they still don't answer, send them another reminder that this ticket is going to be closed. And if they still have a problem, they can reach you. And actually people reply because they feel like, oh, actually, yeah, it's happening. And they are reminding me. And the playbook is something also nice to have. Usually that's also for a customer success team, not only for support. And that's really just couple of problems you have and how to actually solve them. I remember when we had a dry run, and at this point I said, like, I don't remember what I wanted to be talking about, the tools we use, and now I feel exactly the same. But yeah, when I see the chart, it reminds me that this is also something what can really help you, having a right tool which is providing you automations which you need, and that can have a really positive impact on the productivity and efficiency and achieving your goal. As example, I will mention the change we did. We switched from Intercom chat to Zendesk chat about a quarter ago, 2 quarters ago. Yeah, in the beginning of Q2, so yeah, almost a half year ago, we switched to Zendesk from Intercom, and we did no other change. Same people working, same instructions, same workflows, and our median first response time decreased from 2 minutes and 3 seconds to 21 seconds, what is incredible, and only by switching a tool which provided us that kind of automations and distribution of a chat to the right people that we really saw a huge difference only by switching the tool. I don't say that the Intercom is bad and this is good. It has also some things which we are struggling, but for every type of support in a company, there is always the more right tool than the other. So don't be afraid to try. If something is not working and you don't know what to do else and you are not able to reach your goal, maybe think about switching a tool, because that is also very important.
Thank you. That was very valuable insight, Erika. Thank you. So likewise, Federico, same question for you. So how important is the automation for your team?
Yeah, usually when we think about the tool we want to use, we think about how many automations we can get out of this tool. So the first tool is a really strong help desk. This year we moved to Zendesk. So after a 5-year cooperation with Live Agent, we realized they did not have automations enough for our needs. So we switched to Zendesk, and currently for the emails and tickets created from our contact form. Some of the advantages, it is fully customizable, so we can program it as we want. We can use a macro or a predefined answer with the 2 clicks. We can translate them into different languages so that we don't need to speak customer language. Additionally, we can translate the ticket, so even if our agent does not understand in what language customer is writing, they can use the translate function and they can see what customer wrote in English. There is a huge number of triggers and automations that you can do, and also a lot of reports. So you can create as many reports as you want, and this helps understanding different sides of the team, of the customer, and how the performance is growing. Currently in the Q3, there are two main metrics that we are following in the Zendesk. So the first is the CSAT, and I wish I would have as good CSAT as Erica. So congrats, congrats for that. So we are working on that, especially because our first answer times were quite high. For us, it is like a peak season, and we can't reply to customers within minutes. So we actually managed to keep it less than 6 hours right now. So what is good about the Zendesk as a help desk system? They also take the stage from development team and gives it back to us. So we are not depending on development resources to do some changes. So if we want to add a new article to our knowledge base, we can do it ourselves. We can translate it ourselves, and it will be live after 1 day, for example. So the second tool we use is Solid Call Center. So nowadays, if you want to reach out to your customers anywhere in the world and you want to minimize costs for you and your customer, you need to have portable solutions. So you'll not be working with a phone. Right now we are using Cloud Talk, and we have 32 different numbers to allow to reach our customers in their local line and hopefully speaking their local language. And on the other way around, when they are calling us, it can also minimize the cost for them, since mainly they will be calling to a local number. Usually if we have more than 2% traffic in one country, usually we are trying to get a number for that country as well. During this summer, we actually managed to keep the phone calls active, which was something we were unable to do in the past years. We always had huge missed call ratios when it came to the summer period. So this year we actually managed to keep it less than 20%. Well, it may seem quite high, but keep into consideration that it is a B2C, it's not B2B, so challenges are different. As a third tool, a good scheduling system. If you have a team with more than 5 people, at a certain point, you will start using a scheduler, and that will help you understanding who is working, who is not working, who is on vacation, who is on sick leave, how many vacation days that person have accumulated. We actually have been using scheduling from the very beginning, at the start in the simple Excel sheets, and right now in some more complex tools where we can also store employee data, employee vacations, payment files, and others. Actually, nowadays, although it doesn't seem like a big deal, scheduling still takes me one day a month, because we try to cover every shift with the necessary amount of people, necessary amount of languages, and at the same time try to respect employees' preferences and employees' availability. Then other tool that we use is resource allocation. So until a certain point, we had our employees doing everything. So they were doing a few emails, they were doing a few chats, a few phone calls, and some actions in the back office. And as we grow, we notice that there is no one responsible for anything. So if something is not done, we don't have a responsible person. So obviously, besides having a supervisor for different shifts, which we right now have 7 of them, we also distribute the people across different channels. So we have a part of the group that is only working with emails and the tickets coming from the contact form. We have a part of the group only working with inbound and outbound calls, and the remaining working with back office. What we have noticed since we started to do that, there was a huge increase in the efficiency, and there was decreased stress level, since people could rest from the phone. So phone is usually the most problematic. When people call to solve their problems, and if they have huge problem. They could argue and they use rude words and so on. So it's very stressful to work on the phone. And with this rotational system, people manage to rest as well. And to sum up, it also gave them the idea of a change since they are doing something different every day. They feel that their job is not always the same because each day they are assigned a different task. And at last, when we talk about tools and automations, nowadays, this very popular topic, automation. So for us, when we are thinking about automation, we always think how much that is going to cost us, because programming costs nowadays are very high. And if some feature or idea is not making any big impact, then it's not worth to do it. So in our case, nowadays, we are just analyzing how big that issue is for our customers. And if we don't have enough data, we are just skipping it. And instead, it gives us the chance to work with features and opportunities that are important for all the customers. For example, a customer can cancel the reservation by himself from his booking page, or he can amend the reservation by himself, or he can submit a claim by himself, or he can get an answer from our help center right away. So that's something very important to keep in mind. You don't want to automate everything that is possible. That's why you have actually a customer support, but you want to automate things that are relevant for all the customers and that are repetitive. On the right side of the screen, actually, you have an example of our new tool. It's our chatbot from Ultimate AI. It's not launched yet. It's currently in the test environment. And this is the starting point. We believe that with the chatbot, it will help us decreasing the first response time. More customers will be able to find answer on their own. And it will decrease the number of repetitive requests for our agents, therefore allowing them to focus on something more complex. Just to give you some examples about automations that we have done this year, in Zendesk, our agents can quickly identify the number of reservation in the tool, and with one click they can open the reservation in our back office. Before, they had to do several clicks. They had to try to understand where it is along the text, and right now it is being done automatically. Or with Cloud Talk, our agents can save their notes during the phone call while they are talking with the customer, and once this call ends, these notes are saved automatically in our back office. So back office is what we use to keep customer historical data, and reservations, payments, and so on. Yeah, so those are some of the tools you need to have.
I see that like in a Q4, we will need to organize another webinar reviews just to see like how your chat box was working, so you can like give us your learnings as well.
Yeah, well, we were commenting a few days ago that currently our chatbot is like a 5-year-old baby, because it needs a real, actually it's a she, we decided to call it Carla. She needs a real data from real customers to actually start to understand their requests a little bit better. So at the start, the CSAT could be quite low, but I believe it's a long-term investment that could change the
Once
way.
Carla is a teenager, we can organize a webinar again.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Federico. You also mentioned, about communication channels. So it's also important to have various channels, offline, online, so you can provide support everywhere where your customer is. So my last question for today will be, or pre-last, I would say, what strategy for your channels do you use at the Discover Cars?
Okay. Well, at the very start, main focus on the phone calls. But when we reach a certain level of traffic, we realize that the phone calls are not the most efficient way to go, since we can do less cases in the end of the day. And a lot of people are calling us about the same issues, and we are repeating the same over and over again. So if your business is growing, at a certain point, you may wish to limit who sees your phone number and provide all these options, such as a phone number only to VIP customers or to returning customers, and so on. So if we look at 2022 emails, calls, contact form were the top 3 forms of request. But looking at the future and looking at automation, we want to serve more customers in the same amount of time. So if an agent can handle usually 100 incoming calls, he can handle 200 emails, a chatbot can handle much more. And with a contact form and help center, customers can also find articles on their own with exact answer. So looking at 2023, a contact form and the chatbot will be our main 2 tools. And we will try to step back a little bit from the calls and from the emails. Yeah, I believe it is the way to go when business reach a certain level of traffic, because if instead of replying to a customer A, our agent instead could be working on improving an article that could be useful for 1,000 people, let's say. So the impact could be much higher.
Thank you, Frederic.
In this small graph, you can see for the past 3 months is our current distribution. So emails with almost 60%, 26% for the contact form, and the calls 15%. So although it seems like very few, we actually have more people allocated to the phone calls rather than the email and contact form altogether, which shows how much more efficient we can handle emails and contact form, because it's 80%, yeah, more than 80% of our work, and actually taking less than 50% of our resources.
Thank you, Frederico. And likewise, Erika, same question on you. Short input from you.
Yeah, I will keep it very short because we are running out of time. I just wanted actually to show you that there is no like one right way to, or one right channel to use, because as Frederico was telling, like they are using a lot of calls. You can see on the chart that we receive minimum of the calls. It's because of the support. What we do usually, we receive 2 types of the questions. One is like, I don't know how to use this, I don't know how to set up this. Or second, this is not working, I need a help, there's probably some problem, or something is not set up correctly. So either we teach people to use a product or try to solve the problems they have. And when we are talking from the technical perspective, it's really hard to do it over call. When you need, for example, some numbers, and imagine that you are asking for an IP address and they're going to tell you 2 times, still make a mistake, then you do a typo, then 3rd time they repeat it, and everybody is kind of frustrated by this. Chat as the most convenient for customers, for us as well, and the most common use. This is statistics from the previous quarter. So as you can see, more than 70% of the questions and queries is handled by chat, then almost 27% by emails, and the last and very small one is the calls we are receiving. So this can change as well from time to time. We hope that once we will have maybe a little bit better public knowledge base, also chats will decrease, and also chats and the emails are used for a little bit different questions. Our customers are already used for it, and usually when they have a small question like, can you help me set up this, or they just need the article or video, they write us on a chat because they know it's going to be fastly resolved if they have a technical problem and they know that probably this is going to take a couple of hours, eventually days, they write us email because they know that even though they write on a chat, it will not make anything faster. So it depends also on the kind of questions you are being asked. And maybe mentioning just that for the tools we use for chat and for email is a Zendesk. So I mentioned that before, maybe you would be interested. And for calls, of course, we use our application.
Thank you, Erika. So we really ran out of time for today, but I'm not surprised because there is so much to talk about as this topic is really complex. But I have one task for you today. Can you share with the audience one key takeaway that you would like our audience to hear and to take away from today's webinar? Federico, I will start with you. Keep it short and sweet.
Yeah, I think the most important is to keep in touch with your teams because people are different and there may be different ways to please different people. So try to understand what is important for each employee and to support them in their growth.
Thank you. And Erika?
A little bit mentioned this already today, I think on one of the slides. Don't be afraid to make decisions. Scaling is very complex and there is just not like one way you need to scale. You could see today that me, also Federico, use some different things and they work for us. Maybe what worked for my team wouldn't work for Federico and vice versa. So when you will start searching about scaling, you will find a lot of things. Just think about what is the best for the customers, for your agents, pick one and go with it. You can always change it. There is nothing like what couldn't be changed. So don't be afraid to make decisions with scaling.
That was really lovely. And with this, I would like to thank you, our speakers, because your expertise are really valuable. And it's always a pleasure to listen to you both. And I would like to also thank you, our audience, for being tonight with us. And I want to wish you amazing evening or the rest of the day. And we will be sending also recording. So you will receive the recording, but also we will send you the feedback form. So please, we really are looking forward for your feedback because we want to improve our webinars. So please, if I can encourage you to fill the form as well. So one more time, thank you all for being here. And I wish you amazing the rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.